Hello everyone, welcome back to Coding Explorer. This is Pradyumna and let us continue our exploration on the world of software. So today we're going to create a project in which we have a riddle game where the user has to answer to our riddles and then we verify that he has answered perfectly. Before we begin, I hope you have watched my last video on reading and writing files in Python. This is very essential for today's project. So to understand today's project, we need to understand a few concepts, and the first one is list comprehension. So list comprehension allows you to create a small loop such that you can iterate through another list or a string or any tuple and then make some modification and then store it into some other variable. We're gonna understand how it works with a simple example soon. So let us understand the syntax. You have a variable which you're gonna store true, and then you equate it to a list. So you have a list over here, and then just think you have a list in which there are few elements. So you say for, and then you have the control variable like for I in something such as a list, and then you say you have to store this I, which is basically that element, inside this variable. Of course, you can make some changes over here such that you want a specific change in that element. You can do that over here. So let us just understand how it works using a simple example. So as you can see, I have a list of countries over here. Now just think you have to store another list in which you have the uppercase of all these countries. So what would you do? Then you'll have to create a new list, and then you have to iterate over this countries list and then make all the elements capital and store it in the new list. But then instead of that, we can use list comprehension. So let us understand how to do it. I'll just name the new list as upper C, and then let's just make it as a list since it has to be in the list format. Now we have to iterate over this countries. So I'll just say for country in countries. Now we have to tell that we have to store this country variable or the counter variable inside this new list called upper countries. So let's say country. So we tell the interpreter to do this. Now since we want it to be in capital, we have to say dot upper, because when we iterate to this list, we have when it comes to particular elements, it takes that element, it converts it to uppercase, and then it stores it to upper C. So let us see how it works. Here you can see that there's another new list, and you can see that all of them have become capital. Now there are more things that you can do through list comprehension. Just think you want all the countries that have the letter A in them. So you have US, you don't have US, you have India, you have Russia and Canada. So what would you do again? Let us say A country is equal to, as usual, we just create it for country in countries. Now we want only the country to be stored and not the capital, it to be converted into uppercase. So if we do this, you'll have again the same countries list being stored, but then as I said, we want only the letter A. So what we do is we say if the letter A, of course you have to put that in single quotes to say it's a string, and then if A in country. So what happens is when it iterates to the countries, you get the first whichever country you have, it checks if this letter A is in that country, and if it is there, then it will store the country. So let's see how it works. Yes, you can see over here in this new list we have only India, Russia and Canada. US is not there because it doesn't have the letter A in it. But now just think if you have a country that begins with A and doesn't have anywhere else, then the first letter will be capital, so it will not, the computer may not consider this A to be inside it, and hence will not be there. So this actually is not a proper code. So what we do have to do here is, let me just take it again. So we say if A in country, so as you got to know, we have to convert this to lower. Yes. So if you have only the lowercase, even if a country starts with the letter A, it will and it's capital, it will be converted to lowercase, and it will check if it's there, and then it will make it. But now since anyway it's not there, we need not do it. So I hope that you understand how to use list comprehension. Now let us go to the next concept. So let us understand another concept called generators, which we'll require for a project today. So basically, generator is a function that returns an iterator, so that we can iterate to a list or a string or a tuple at any given point in a code. So just think you are making a program, and just we take an example for the countries, and then you just say the list to give the next element in it. You can't use the loops at that moment, because loops can only be used when you're iterating all at a time. But then you want it at any particular time in the code, or when you're executing, then you cannot use loops. So you just have to say give me the next one after this element. So that's when you use generators. So let us understand how to use them using an example. So as you can see here, again I have a list of countries. Now what we want to do is we create a generator, and then we ask it to give the next country whenever we want to. So let's just create the generator. So it's basically a function, as I said. I'll just name it as gen, and then what we want to do is we create a while loop, and then since we are going to iterate to the countries, we say for country in countries, and then we say yield country. So basically whenever we want to ask it, we just say next country, and then it gives us the next country which is there. But whenever it comes to the last, it again goes to the beginning. So if it's it will say India, and then US, and then Russia. After that we say again give next, it will come back to India, and it will be a loop forever. So now let's just create this generator. Now we have to create a variable. I'll just create it as x, which will actually store this generator. X is equal to generator. Okay, so now I say give me next. So I tell x to give me next. So you just have to tell it to give the next element. For now, since we're at the beginning, it just gives us the first one. So you can say it gives us India. Now let me just give again next US, and then Russia. Now if I give it again, you can see that it gives India. So this continues forever. Now let us since instead of creating such a huge function, as I just showed you about the list comprehension, we can also use that instead of using such a huge generator. So let me show how to do that. I'll name this generator as y. Here instead of creating it as a list, we use curly brackets. Now again we do the same thing, country for country in countries. So here also we say give yield the country for country in countries. So basically when it iterates to it, it'll you say you have to give me this country. So now let me say next y. Again it's since beginning at the beginning, it'll give us the first one. You see India, US, and it'll also work like the one we saw. So let us understand what we are gonna create today. So we'll basically create a riddle game where the user is asked some questions and then he has to answer it. So we have a text file in which we have stored all the questions and the answers along with it, and then we'll have to read it, and then we'll be asking the questions, and we'll also be giving the points as per the answering of the user. So let us begin. I'll create a new project. I will just give the directory and then create. So before we begin, I just will show you the riddles file that I have. You can get this from the GitHub I've given, GitHub link, it's there. So here you can see that we have an example. You have the riddle at the beginning, and then you have the answer, and then you have a one-line gap, and then again the question and answer, and it goes on. So let us understand how to do this. So let me create a new file. So let us begin. So first we import the random module because we might require it to make the questions random. Now what we do is we create a class called Riddles, because as you know we had created a user details class in my 9th video. Similar to that, we'll create this. So first we'll initialize it. We'll take the question and the answer. We also have to store it inside the class. So we say self.q is equal to question, and then self.a is equal to answer. Now after this, just imagine you've created all this. Now you want to check if the answer is correct. Instead of checking it over there, we can again tell this riddles class to check if the answer is correct. So def, we just say check answer. We'll ask what the user has given, so we say user answer. Now what we do, if we have to check if user answer is equal to the answer, but then if the user has given the answer in small case or uppercase, we have to make sure that the cases are equal. So we say user answer dot lower, and then it has to be equal to the answer which is stored. So self dot a dot lower over here also, because as you know over here the answers are not the same. And then if it is, then we say it is true, else we say the answer is false. So after this, what we do is we'll first we have to read the riddles from the txt file. So we just create a riddles file so that we can read it. We say open, the name is riddles.txt, and then since we're just reading it, we just use R. Now we'll create a generator. We'll say riddle gen. So basically what it does is it reads through each line of this riddle.txt and it gives us when we ask it. So we say riddle gen, and then we'll just name it as line for line in. So we have this in the file. It is riddles file dot read lines. So basically read lines goes through all lines and it splits them, splits each line into a list, and then it gives it to the gives it to us. So we store it we take it and then we'll give it to the riddle gen to give us whenever we want it. Now since we have 20 questions over here, I'll have to iterate 20 times, and then what we do is we have a riddles list. So in this riddles list there will be a list of riddle class which will be storing different question and answers. So what we do over here is, now we'll have to iterate 20 times for I in range 20. What we do is we have to create new instances of this riddle. So we say R is equal to riddle, we create riddle of. So first we have to give the question. So what we, instead of just giving it directly, we say we have to use the generator. So we say next of riddle generator. But then what we have to do is we have to remove a suffix, that is we have to remove the slash n, because each line will be having the slash n at its end. So if we didn't remove it, it won't appear properly. So we have to remove, and then again we have to remove this even for the next one, because the answer also will have this at its end. Now after this, what we have to do is we have to store this riddle in the riddles list. So riddles dot append the riddle, and also what we have to do is again give next of riddle gen, although we don't store it or do anything with it, because you can see here that we have the first with question, the second with answer, and then again you have a blank line. So for this blank line we have to say this, because it will over here, if we go for the second time, it will give us a blank line. So we have to make sure it doesn't happen. And also you can observe over here that we have answer, and after that you have the answer over here. When we have to check with it, we don't want any problems to occur. So what we do with the second one is we say dot split, because we'll split this into two, because one part will be answer and the second part will be the answer that is required. So we'll split this with the colon and space. You have to also give the space, you have to remember, and then after splitting it we have to take the second part, but here we just say the first one, because 0 is the first part, and then after that we have to give it to this. Now we have to ask the user to play the game. So first we'll just welcome them, print welcome to Riddle Game, and then we say let's begin with the game. Now instead of asking all the questions at once, let us ask 10 questions at a time, and if the user wants to continue, we'll ask the questions again, but it will totally be random, so you never know what questions comes. So since we want many times the user can play the game, we have to use a while true loop, and in that we say, so just think this is one game that you're creating. So we say let's begin this game. We can remove this, because we want to ask the user tell this to the user whenever he says he wants to continue with the game. Now we'll have to take riddles from this riddles class, riddles list. Since you are gonna only ask 10 questions, we'll create another list of riddles, which will be a smaller list, which will contain some few riddles from this main riddles list. So here what we do is we will make this random so that the user can have different questions. So we say random dot shuffle the riddles, but since we have only 10 questions, we say of 10. So it will give only 10 questions from here, or else instead of this we can make this shuffle this whole thing and then give us choose 10 questions from it. Now it will give us 10 questions. We have to iterate to all these questions, and then we have to ask the user and then check if it is correct. So what we do is for riddle in riddle small is print. So first we'll ask the question. So if we want to ask the question, we can just say since we are iterating to this riddle, we say riddle dot q. So we'll have the question with it. We just say print the question, and then we take the answer from the user. So user answer is equal to input. We take the input from the user, and then we ask this class to tell us if it's correct or not. So what we do is riddle dot check answer. So I have to give the user answer. So we gave it. What we'll do over here, we can increase the points. So we just say points is equal to 0. We have to keep it 0 because each time when it comes when the user comes to play the game, it has to be, the points have to become 0. So we'll keep it over here, and then what we do is if riddle dot check answer, you can see over here is it takes the answer, it gives us true or false. So we see if riddle dot check answer, we give the user answer, and if it turns out to be true, then we can just tell the user correct answer, and then after that we can just increase the points. So points plus is equal to 1. But then if the user gives the wrong answer, we can say wrong answer, better luck next time. We anyway won't decrease the points if he answers it wrong, so we can just say that the points need not be increased. And after he plays the game, that is he finishes all these riddles, we can say, we can just leave one line space and then say points is equal to, so we tell how many points he got. Since this is an integer, we convert it to a string and say points, and then we can tell the points. And then we also have to ask the user if he wants to continue. Print, do you want to continue? And then we'll just limit him to tell yes or no in just y or n. And then I'll just store it in a variable is equal to input of input, and then we have to check if the continuation variable, we have to convert it to lowercase so that even if the user gives it upper, it's not a problem. So c dot lower is yes, then we can just continue. But if it's not, then we just break the loop, and then we can end this game. Actually, instead of shuffling it over here, we'll shuffle it at before this, and then use the riddle, because it actually random the shuffle doesn't return anything, it just changes and shuffles the one that you give. So we'll shuffle it over here and then take it over here, and also over here you need to make this return true. Now we can just check it. You can see it asking the question, what has to be broken before you can use it. I can give any answer. What has a neck but no head? Let me give bottle. So you can see it gives correct answer. I'm taken from a mine and shut up in a wooden case. Pencil lead. So as you can see, it asked me also the question. Now I can if I want to continue, I can say yes or no. I say yes, so you can continue. So this is how it works. I hope that you had a great fun making this project. You can also make other people play it and show how much you have learned. Before you leave, let me tell you that I have uploaded all the project that we did today and the previous classes for the whole Python basics. I've put it in the GitHub. I've posted the link in the comments. Here I've even given the Riddles game. If you go here, you have the riddles.txt. You can find all the questions over here. So you can download that, and then if you have any problems, you can come to the riddlegame.py and you can verify and make sure that the problem doesn't continue. Congratulations! You just finished learning a lot of concepts of Python. I hope that you have learned a lot in Python and also about how control flows through the computer. In the next classes, you will be learning Tkinter, which is for GUI based programming, and I'll also be creating videos on machine learning and artificial intelligence along with computer vision. I hope that you'll enjoy that also. So thank you everyone. Please learn, like, subscribe and share. And if you have any doubts, you can put it in the comment section. I'll answer it as fast as possible. Please click on the bell button and subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot. Thank you.